History Network, the African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. It is Sunday, December 11th, 2022, and we are live. Welcome to the African History Network show. It's been a very, very busy week. As I said, I was on Roland Martin on Friday. Reese Colbert was Roland Martin. I saw Reese Colbert today on Simone Sanders' show on MSNBC. Reese did a good job of sitting in for Roland Martin on this past Friday, December 9th. Reese had the referee as well, because there was this black conservative on with this plan for a better Black America. And he really didn't know what the hell he was talking about. We'll get to that later. But Brittney Griner has been released from a Russian prison. WNBA star Brittney Griner is free. She was Thursday, December 8th. The Biden-Harris negotiated her release from a Russian penal colony in exchange for an arms dealer, Victor Bout, according to a senior administration official. Okay. Now, I want to show Mind Your Business, and we discussed this this past Thursday, but I'm going to let you hear from the press conference from that President Joe Biden gave at the White House. And one of the things I want to talk about is there was a good story from The Independent. There was a good article from The Independent .co.uk, I think it is. And they discussed how Donald Trump is attacking this trade, as well as a lot of Republicans are attacking this prisoner swap. But when Donald Trump, he did absolutely nothing to free Paul Whelan. Okay, Paul Whelan, who is a former Marine, and Paul Whelan has been convicted, and many say on trumped up charges, and they probably are trumped up charges of being a spy. Okay, 2 years after his term in the White House ended, without mentioning his name Paul Whelan, Donald Trump is now claiming that President Joe Biden and the Biden-Harris administration prisoner swap to return a wrongfully detained WNBA star Brittney Griner home is a quote-unquote stupid and quote-unquote totally one-sided transaction because it did not include U.S. Marine Corps veteran Paul Whelan. We're going to talk about Republicans attacking this as well. Now, now pay attention to this. Normally, if it's a white person who is being held in a foreign prison or in a Russian prison, and there's a prisoner swap, then normally Republicans are celebrating this. But when it's an African American woman and she's married to a woman, she's part of the LGBTQ community, you don't have them celebrating this. And I said this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, because we actually spoke with a woman who deals with mental health, and she talked about the type of mental therapy and the type of mental help that Brittney Griner is going to need to reacclimate to society. And I said on Roland's show, the reason why you have not celebrating Brittney Griner coming back home, because they don't consider Brittney Griner to be a real American. That's what this really gets down to. A lot of these white Republicans running around here, like McCarthy, okay, who wants to be House Speaker so bad he'll do anything. He'll cut deals with Marjorie Taylor Greene. He'll cut deals with Lauren Boebert. He wants to be Speaker so bad. He's trashing this deal. Normally, if an American is released and the American is wrongfully convicted and they're in a Russian prison or they're in a foreign prison that's an adversary of the U.S., that's usually celebrated. The reason why these Republicans who are part of the white nationalist party, the white nationalist party. Let's be clear. This is who they are. The reason why they're not celebrating Brittney Griner coming back home is because they do not consider Brittney Griner to be a real American. Because they did not do the same thing when Trevor Reed was released a few months ago and Paul Whelan was not released at the same time. And Brittney Griner was still in prison, okay, because her case was still being going through the I hate to call it a legal process in Russia. Is a setup, but still going through the process, okay, still going through the judicial process. All right, so we'll talk about Brittney Griner, but then also we'll discuss Deion Sanders, okay. So Monday I was on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, on the Black Media Network, Roland Martin's network, and we discussed Deion Sanders and him leaving Jackson State University, going to Colorado. Okay, we'll talk some about that as well, and because a lot of people are weighing in on this, and some people calling him a sellout, things like this. I had something to say about that as well, and he's basically left a blueprint that other coaches can now follow to elevate HBCUs. Okay, Deion Sanders has left a blueprint that other coaches can now follow to elevate HBCUs. Also, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is the #1 movie once again this week as well. So we'll give you an update on that also. All right. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. I want to give a special shout out to my sisters, the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, the Redford chapter. They had their Blue Blizzard event, the Blue Blizzard party. That was Saturday, December 10th, out in Livonia. So I was there. It's a fantastic event. Saw a lot of my brothers and sisters out there. So shout out to the sisters of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. All right, sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, ET, to 22828. Sign up for our email newsletter. And visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And we have the 15 lecture bundle pack in download format. African History Awakens the African Mind to African History Awakens the African Mind from Mental Death. Okay, and we have that promotion running until Wednesday, December. Was it Wednesday, December 14th? So we'll give you some more information on that as well. All right, you listen to the African History Network show. Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. I got a call into the radio station. Yeah, Michael. It's Michael calling back through Skype. No, I hung up. Stand by, everybody. That 4 minutes. Stand by. In 2 minutes. Okay, we have to refresh the screen. Brother Michael Imhotep is Sunday, December 11th, 2020. And we are live on 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the question or comment. All right. So we got the news that WNBA star Brittney Griner had been released from a Russian penal colony. If we look at here from NBC News, and we're going to go to clip number 1 here in just a minute. Mukasina. WNBA star Brittney Griner released from Russian custody in a high-profile prisoner swap between the U.S. and Moscow. Griner was detained in February at a Moscow airport after Russian authorities said they found vape canisters with cannabis oil in her luggage. Okay, so she was held in a Russian penal colony. She was exchanged for arms dealer Victor Boot. President Joe Biden signed off on the trade, which took place in the United Arab Emirates, even though it meant leaving behind Paul Whelan, a U.S. corporate security executive who remains jailed in Russia. And he's a former Marine as well. Now, President Biden, in a press conference on Thursday, said she is safe. She's on the plane. She is safe. She's on a plane. She is on her way home. Biden said Thursday morning at the White House. She will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along. Now, we know she received a medical attention as well, and she is back home now. She's back in the U.S. and she's back home now. He said, "I'm proud that today we have made one family whole," Biden said, adding that he will continue to work to free Paul Whelan, who Donald Trump did nothing to try to free Paul Whelan. We'll get to that in just a minute. He said, "We'll keep negotiating for Paul's relief. I guarantee it. We'll keep negotiating for Paul's relief. I guarantee it. All right, now I want to go to clip number one here. Clip number one is from MSNBC, and this is the announcement. This is from the Today Show. This is from the Today Show, December 8th, 2002. WNBA star Brittney Griner released from prison after nearly 10 months. Brittney Griner has been released by Russia in a prisoner swap with arms dealer Victor Bout. Let's go to this clip, please, Mukasina. All right, we're queuing the clip up. We'll go to that in just a second here.
Is a special report. Anna Guthrie and Hoda Kotb.
Good morning, everybody. We are following breaking news this hour out of Russia, nearly 10 months after her arrest and incarceration there. WNBA star Brittney Griner is headed home.
Yeah, breaking and welcome news. Russia has agreed to a prisoner swap with the U.S. We're going to go straight to NBC's chief foreign affairs correspondent, Andrea Mitchell. She has these breaking details. Andrea, what can you tell us?
Good morning, Savannah and Hoda. Well, according to a senior administration official, Brittney Griner is free after 294 days in Russian captivity. Spent in one of Russia's penal colonies. She was traded for Russian arms dealer Victor Bout, who Vladimir Putin has been trying to get back, and who would serve 7 years of a 25-year sentence in the U.S. President Biden signed off on the trade, even though it meant leaving another American businessman, Paul Whelan, behind bars in Russia. Over the weekend, Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying the U.S. has been actively engaged in discussions with Russia about a possible prisoner swap to free Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan.
We have to see if the engagements that we have produce an actual result.
Griner, the 32-year-old WNBA superstar, spent nearly 10 months in Russian custody. Arrested at a Moscow airport in February, she admitted to bringing less than a gram of medicinal cannabis into the country, but said she never intended to break any law. Her plight sparked an outpouring from her teammates and fans. Griner's wife, Sherelle.
I'm frustrated that my wife is not going to get justice. I know you all are frustrated too. That's why you're here.
Sentenced to 9 years in prison, Griner appealed behind bars.
This has been very traumatic experience for this day.
But she was denied last month.
I'm telling you, I am determined to get her home and get her home safely, along with others, I might add.
The other American held by Russia will not be coming home. Paul Whelan, a former Marine, a businessman, detained 4 years ago, is serving a 16-year prison sentence after being accused of spying, which the U.S. strongly denies. Whelan's family later raised concerns about his safety, which I asked the state about last week.
Working to bring him home, bring Brittney Griner home. But this is, again, what we see Russia doing in terms of abusing the understandings that countries have had when it
Moments
comes
ago,
to
standing together
having
with
access
her.
to our citizens who are being detained.
Those familiar with very hard negotiations say that the Russians absolutely refused to release Paul Whelan without getting a Russian spy in return. But the U.S. insists it does not have any Russian spies in U.S. custody. The administration says it had no one to trade to meet that Russian demand. And again, the U.S. maintains that Paul Whelan is wrongfully detained. He's a businessman, not a spy. And just now, we also got a statement from the group that has been campaigning for all of these hostages to be released from all over the world. Actually, behind by at least 3 times by 2 American presidents. He deserves better from his government, and our campaign implores President Biden to urgently secure Paul's immediate return using all tools available. We understand the president will be speaking shortly or later this morning.
Yeah, Andrew, thank you very much for the breaking news. Brittney Griner has been freed. Paul Whelan left behind. Let's go to Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander at the White House. What's the word there, Peter?
Savannah, we do expect to hear from President Biden at 8:30, so 15 minutes from now. And we have just learned that Cherelle Griner, Brittney Griner's wife, is right now in the Oval Office here at the White House. She is behind closed doors with President. The two of them were able to speak by phone earlier this morning with Brittney Griner after she was returned to U.S. custody. And then, as we understand it, Cherelle was able to have a private conversation with her wife, Brittney, from the president's study. But this concludes for the Griner family what has just been a very distressing situation over the course of the last 10 months. The president has said this was a top priority. He had exchanged a letter with Griner in the past, who wrote him over the summer saying that she was terrified she would be there forever in Russian custody. The good news this morning that the White House will certainly be celebrating today is the release of Brittney Griner. And again, to repeat, Cherelle Griner, the president, is in the Oval Office with the president right now and had an opportunity to speak alongside the president with her wife just this morning. Savannah and Hoda.
All right, Peter Alexander, thank you so much. We're going to continue to keep a close eye on this story all morning long. We're going to bring you updates. And of course, we'll have coverage on NBC Nightly News and all day on NBC News Now.
For now, many of our stations will return to the Today Show in New York. This is Savannah Guthrie and Hoda Kotb. Good day.
Okay, pause it right there. All right, thanks. Okay, now, okay, we're coming up on a break shortly. I want to go to clip number 2 quickly, Mukasina. This is from C-SPAN. This is from the White House. This is the press conference that President Joe Biden gave after the announcement was made that Brittney Griner was released. Let's go to this clip number 2, please.
To go standing together with her, our Cherelle, in the Oval Office, I spoke with Brittney Griner. She's safe. She's on a plane. She's on her way home. After months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances, Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along. This is a day we've worked toward for a long time. We never stopped pushing for her release. It took painstaking and intense negotiations, and I want to thank all the hardworking public servants across my administration who worked tirelessly to secure her release. I also want to thank the UAE for helping us facilitate Brittney's return, because that's where she landed. These past few months have been hell for Brittney and for Charlie and her entire family and all her teammates back home. People all across the country have learned about Brittney's story, advocated for her release, stood with her throughout this terrible ordeal. And I know that support meant a lot to her family. I'm glad to be able to say that Brittney's in good spirits. She's relieved to finally be heading home. And the fact remains that she's lost months of her life, experienced the needless trauma. She deserves space, privacy, and time with her loved ones to recover and heal from her time being wrongfully detained. Brittney is an incomparable athlete, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist for Team USA. She endured mistreatment and a show trial in Russia with characteristic grit and incredible dignity. She represents the best about America. It is across the board, everything about her. She wrote to me back in July. She didn't ask for special treatment, even though we've been working on a release from day one. She requested a simple quote, "Please don't forget about me and the other American detainees. Please do all you can to bring us home." We never forgot about Brittney. We've not forgotten about Paul Whelan, who's been unjustly detained in Russia for years. This was not a choice of which American to bring home. We brought home Trevor Reed when we had a chance earlier this year. Sadly, for totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently than Brittney's. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up. We will never give up. We remain in close touch with Paul's family, the Whelan family. Thoughts and prayers are with them today. They have to have such mixed emotions today. And we'll keep negotiating in good faith for Paul's release. I guarantee that. I say that to the family. I guarantee you. And I urge Russia to do the same to ensure that Paul's health and humane treatment are maintained until we are able to bring him home. I don't want any American to sit wrongfully detained and one extra day if we bring that person home. My administration has now brought home dozens of Americans who were wrongfully detained or held hostage abroad, many of whom had been held since before I took office.
All right, we're coming up on a break. We're coming up on a break. We're going to pause it right there. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation WFDF. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. Give us a call. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute. Welcome back to the show. All right. Right before the break, I was sharing with you the press conference that President Joe Biden did Thursday, December 8th, announcing that Brittney Griner had been Russian penalty. Calling numbers 313-778-100, 313-787-7600. And when we get to this clip, I'm going to share with you how the whining Republicans, who you would think would be happy that an American was released from a Russian prison, but they are whining and attacking the administration and saying, "Oh, they should have brought home Paul Whelan," but they don't want to do also. Let's go back to the press conference, please.
And one extra day, if we can bring that home. Our administration has now brought home dozens of Americans who were wrongfully detained or held hostage abroad, many of whom had been held since before I took office. And today, we also remember the other Americans that are being held hostage and wrongfully detained in Russia or anywhere else in the world. Reuniting these Americans with their loved ones remains a priority for my administration, every person in my administration involved. We're going to continue to work to bring home every American who continues to endure such an injustice. We're also need more American families from suffering this pain and separation. And I strongly urge Americans to take precautions, including reviewing the State Department's travel advisories before they travel overseas, which now includes warnings. Think about it. This work is not easy. Negotiations are always difficult. Guarantees. But it's my job as President of the United States to support American citizens everywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. Proud we had made one more family home. Now, I invite Sherelle. Of course, she's not excited at all about this. Sherelle, kiddo. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Nine months, y'all, have been so privy to one of the darkest moments of my life. And so today I'm just standing here overwhelmed with emotions, but the most important emotion that I have right now is just sincere gratitude for President Biden and his entire administration. And this work is not easy, and it has not been. There's been so many hands involved, and so I'd like to take a moment to just specifically mention a few. Vice President Jake Sullivan, Just Geltzer from the National Security Council, Roger Carson and Fletcher Schoen from the Hostage Envoy's Office. A special thank you to Governor Richardson and Mickey, the Mercury Players, the WNBPA for advocacy, and also, you guys may not know this, but my family has been tremendously supported by CBG's agent, Lindsay Colas, has just been amazing, me and my family throughout this process. So today my family is whole, but as you all are aware, there's so many other families who are not whole. And so BG's not here to say this, but I will gladly speak on her behalf and say that BG and I will remain committed to the work of getting every American home, including Paul, is in our hearts today as we celebrate BG being home. We do understand that there are still people out here who are enduring what I endured the last 9 months of missing tremendously their loved ones. So thank you everybody for your support. And today it's just a happy day for me and my family. So I'm going to smile right now. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
All right, you can pause it right there.
Mr. President.
Okay, you can pause. You can stop right. Okay, that's courtesy C-SPAN. I couldn't find it on the White House's so that was courtesy C-SPAN, and it's the whole ordeal could have been avoided if WNBA players were making more money. Now, I understand that the WNBA players are not going to make as much money as Steph Curry or LeBron James, or they're not going to make as much money as the top NBA players. But if they were making, the reason why Brittney Griner was playing in the off season for a Russian team, and she had been doing that for years, is because even though she's one of the top stars in the WNBA, she still doesn't make that much money in comparison to male players. So they have to play in the off season because they only have a certain number of years to play in their playing career. Now, what this does is this, because they're playing year round, their body does not get a chance to heal like it should during the off season, and it makes them more prone to injuries. And she was taking Brittney Griner was taking cannabis to alleviate chronic pain from an injury. She was taking cannabis to alleviate chronic pain from an injury. All right. Now, also the other thing is that you have people saying, "Oh, he should have gotten Paul Whelan." Well, if you read the article now, Andrea Mitchell on NBC News addressed this, but also if you read the article from NBC News, and this one is written by, I think this is written by Ken. This is Andrea Mitchell wrote this, Zoe Richards and Yulia Talmadson, December 8th, 2022. In the article, page 2 of it, it talks about how they wanted, the Russians wanted, the U.S. wanted Paul Whelan. The Russians wanted a Russian spy in U.S. custody. Okay. Paul Whelan is serving, this is page 2 of the article from NBC News. Paul Whelan is serving a 16-year prison sentence after he was accused of spying, which the U.S. has denied. People familiar with the negotiations for his release say the Russians refused to free him without getting a Russian spy in return. The U.S. insists it has no Russian spies in its custody and therefore no one to trade. The Russian spy that the Russians want is in German custody, not U.S. custody. Germany said no to releasing the Russian spy. So what's Biden to do? Let Brittney Griner just sit there? He took the deal that's on the table. That's what you have to do. You take the deal that's on the table, you come back later and get another deal. This is what they did with Trevor Reed earlier this year. They wanted Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan. They couldn't get them. They got Trevor Reed. You get Trevor Reed out. You come back. You get Brittney Griner. You come back and get Paul Whelan. That the U.S. does not hold the cards in this situation. Russia holds the cards. So the way this works in a lot of people's head is not how it works in like real life. They're living in the land of make-believe. Okay, read the rest of this article here from NBC News. Now the deal also, this article says the deal was reached about a week ago. The deal was reached about a week ago, an official said, after the Biden administration floated a number of proposals to secure the release of both Griner and Paul Whelan, all of which Russia rejected. So what do? Just let Brittney Griner stay there? Now, check this out. If Biden had done what these Republicans had said and said, no, we're not going to do this deal, and he let Brittney Griner stay there, and Brittney Griner ended up dying in a Russian prison, then every last one of these Republicans would have been chastising Biden, saying, look, you let the Russians kill this American Olympian, and calling him weak and all types of things like this. If Biden had listened to these Republicans, and 138 of them in the House of Representatives voted to invalidate the 2022 presidential election results that was certified by the Electoral College because they didn't want Biden to be president. If he had listened to them and Brittney Griner had died in a Russian prison, they would all be chastising Biden and say, look, you let the Russians kill her. You let her die in a Russian prison. You didn't bring her home. So when I hear these simple Simon ass Republicans running their mouth, I can listen to them tell they have no clue what they're talking about. This is just propaganda. This is grandstanding. And they're covering up for the fact that Donald Trump was in office for 2 years when Paul Whelan was in a Russian prison. And Donald Trump did absolutely nothing to bring Paul Whelan back. Paul Whelan's brother tweeted that Donald Trump never tweeted or mentioned Paul Whelan's name when he was president. Now he's mentioned his name in like the past 2 or 3 days, more so than he did 2 years while Paul Whelan was in prison during the Trump administration. Okay, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. On Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, December 9th, we were speaking with, I got to pull this up here. We were speaking with a woman who's an expert on mental health, and she was talking about the type of mental health treatment Brittney Griner will need. And I asked her a very important question. We'll let you hear that on the other side of the break. 9:10 a.m. Superstation WFDF. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Stand by, everybody. What's the name? License. Back from break in 3 minutes. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by.
You never will. And I promise these allegations are false. Over 100 later, 9:10 a.m. is the oldest, strongest 50,000-watt station in town. If you're looking for the latest in talk and sports radio, look no further. 9:10 a.m. Superstation is live now. 9:10 a.m. Superstation has the greatest advertising.
Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, Friday, December 9th, I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered, and we spoke with Robin May. Now, Robin May is a licensed professional counselor, and she deals with mental health. And she was talking about the type of mental health treatment Brittney Griner is going to need after being in a after her experience and being in a Russian prison and acclimating back to society, etc. There was an article from USA Today that deals with this subject matter as well. It's called "What Might Brittney Griner Go Through Upon Return Home?" What might Brittney Griner go through upon upon return home. Okay, and this is from USA Today, written by. Let me see. Hold on. Okay, this is from USA Today, written. I'm going to pull this article up here. Okay, here's the one from MSN.com. Okay, what might Griner go through upon return home? A look at her post-release hurdles. You'll post screen. This is a story by for USA Today. Okay, in the article it says when Brittney Griner returns home after 294 days of being imprisoned in Russia, she will face the potential difficult task of re-entering into her normal life, a process that experts say can be unpredictable and fraught with both mental and physical issues, and fraught with both mental and physical. One comes back home, naturally we have this joyous moment of reuniting the family, being back in America, and just getting released and having this having that sense of celebratory moment, said Liz, the executive director of Hostage, a nonprofit organization that provides sources and guidance to detainees and their families. And that quote after that is when things start kind of pile up. After that is when things start to kind of pile up. Now, on the most basic level, according to Georgetown adjunct professor of psychiatry, and Speckard, who is also an expert on post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, hostages generally have some level of trauma from their experience, particularly when they're being held in a country like Russia that is not known for treating prisoners well, particularly when they are held in a country like Russia that is not known for treating prisoners well. But after living with so much uncertainty, when or if they might be freed, their experiences at home can vary, with emotions that often conflict with the happiness of being home. Speckard went on to say, I don't think she's ever going to completely get over this. I think it's going to be one of those experiences that stays with her forever. She'll probably flash back to it from time to time when she gets reminders, but if she has a supportive family and if they can deal with their emotions of her having been gone, she may have a lot to deal with, or not too much. Okay, she may have a lot to deal with and not too much. So check out the rest of this article here from USA Today, picked up by MSN.com. What might Brittney Griner go through upon return home? A look at her post-release hurdles. Now, we discussed this topic on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, December 9th. And we spoke with Robin. We spoke with Robin May, who is a licensed professional counselor. Okay, I want to go to that clip here. Let's go to the clip, please, Mukasina.
Like, listen, what I really need is for the next couple of days that you just kind of give me a moment to just do what I want to do. I haven't had the opportunity to get up when I want to get up, go to sleep when I want to go to sleep. I know you love me. I know you've missed me. I just need some time to just be with me. And then after those couple of, what I would love, let's just go get some ice cream. I don't want to answer any questions I just want to go sit somewhere. Whatever they need in that moment, that's what I would encourage. That would be number one, create a safety. And then number two, after you create a safety, I want you to be able to share with someone, listen, this is some of the things that have occurred. I've been here, and I want to bring you up to speed. How do I do that to make sure that you don't feel so isolated? Remember, I said one of the things I'm very concerned about for Brittney is the isolation she will feel. And so I would try to invite her into a space. Come on, let's talk through, because I want to help you not feel so isolated. So those are two specific strategies. You create a safety plan, and then you talk about what you want to make sure they understand since they have not been with us. Thank you.
Hey, Ryan, sitting up here preaching the whole word. I hope y'all taking notes out there, because some of y'all, unfortunately, don't care about Brittney Griner, but she just preached something that everybody, regardless of their situation,
All right, we'll be back to break in a few minutes. This is Nation Network Show. Stand by. Okay, we lost sound for a minute. Damn. Okay, we'll go back and start that from the. We need to start that from. Stand by. Back for break in 4 minutes. Come on 358.
The facts. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the HBCU Network Show. We deal with current events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy so you mess with that consequence.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation. Do you have an idea for an invention or new product? Do you think companies would be interested in your idea? Do you want to try to get a patent? Then call InventHelp now. InventHelp keeps your idea confidential and explains every step of the invention process. We create professional materials representing your idea and submit it to companies who are looking for new ideas. We have more than 9,000 companies who have agreed to review ideas in confidence. If a company shows interest in manufacturing your invention, we can...
Back for break in 1 minute. Stand by.
910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, I want to go back to this segment here from Roland Martin Unfiltered. This is from Friday, December 9th. We were speaking with Robin May, who's a licensed professional counselor dealing with mental health. And we were talking about the type of mental health treatment that Brittney Griner will most likely need to reacclimate herself to society, deal with what happened to her in a Russian prison, deal with the whole ordeal. Okay. And Reese Colbert was sitting in for Roland, and Reese did a really good job because Reese is known for cursing, but she did very little cursing during this show. So, Reese, I complimented Reese also. So she did a really good job. Let's go back to this clip, please, Mukasina.
For that question. Michael, you're up next. Question for Ms. Robin.
Okay, Ms. Robin, and this is an excellent topic, and you have a lot of Republicans attacking the prisoner swap and Donald Trump because they consider Brittney Griner an American, but that's a whole nother conversation. When we talk about Brittney Griner's wife, Cheryl, can you talk about the type of trauma the spouse, whether it's a husband or wife, in situations like this, the type of trauma the spouse goes through, and the type of therapy that the spouse may need, and is there a difference in the type of therapy the spouse may need than the primary victim would need?
That's such a powerful question. One of the things that I spent a lot of time helping to educate people on, particularly during the pandemic and the heightened civil unrest we've experienced, the heightened civil unrest we've experienced, is that watch this. This is so important for anyone watching. Even seeing a trauma can create traumatic symptoms for the person who saw it.
Right.
So her wife absolutely is dealing with her own feelings of trauma, or her own experiences of trauma, but it's particularly difficult because the partner often feels selfish and self-centered to identify or to admit their own trauma. Because again, you want to cater to, you want to care for the person who has dealt with it directly. But when I tell you, if we could sign her immediately, we need to, and I'm hoping she's in there, because it is definitely an impact experiencing as well. Whose trauma is hiding other trauma. And so I believe it's been different, and then they get support together. It's like I said, they feel some kind of way are now. And so absolutely on her so that they can come together and have
Pause. Pause right there.
Inevitable. I will continue to read that. Even in a meeting with the president, vice president, was something that they really pushed heavily, along with people who advocated with her. And so, she was in this fight. She wasn't, prison.
All right, stop the clip. Okay. Mukasina, stop the clip, please. Thank you. All right, you can watch that show in its entirety. Download the Black Star Media Network. That is the Roland Martin Unfiltered installment from Friday, December 9th. Also, you can watch it on Roland's YouTube channel or Facebook page, Roland S. Martin. Okay, Roland S. Martin. All right. Now, what's really interesting is you have a lot of these Republicans, as I said before, who are running around criticizing this deal. Okay. And there's a the independent co.uk that deals with this. And let's see. Yeah. Name of this article: Donald Trump, who ignored Paul Whelan 2 years, says deal to return Brittney Griner to U.S. was stupid. Well, Donald Trump, I would consider Donald Trump an expert in being stupid. I would consider Donald Trump an expert in doing stupid things. Donald Trump did not mention Paul Whelan's name a single time during the 2 years he was held in Russia on Donald Trump's watch, nor did he bring up the former U.S. Marine during a 2019 meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Isn't that interesting? Now, Donald Trump had Sergei Lavrov, the Russian ambassador to the U.S., I think he was. You remember he met with the Russians in the White House, and no one to be there. The Russian media was allowed to be there. So once again, these Republicans and Trump, they don't mean us any good, generally speaking. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but sure as hell ain't stupid. I can see the game that's being ran on us. 2 years after his term, let me see, can we get this up? 2 years after his term in the White House ended, without him mentioning Paul Whelan's name, Donald Trump is now claiming that the Biden administration's prisoner swap to return wrongfully detained WNBA star Brittney Griner home is a stupid and totally one-side transaction because it did not include U.S. Marine Corps veteran Paul Whelan. Now, Donald Trump, under whose watch Paul Whelan was detained on bogus espionage charges just 3 days after Christmas in 2018, hit out at the Biden administration's latest return of an American hostage from abroad on his Truth Social platform. And, I think it should be called Social Untruths or Trump's Big Lies or something like that platform. Truth Social, that's the wrong name for it. Okay. He asked, why wasn't former Marine Paul Whelan included in this totally one-sided transaction? He would have been let out for the asking. Now, the disgraced ex-president, impeached twice, his company, his Trump organization, just was convicted this past week on criminal tax fraud. Okay. He also and then also his boy Herschel Walker, and I called him a boy. His boy Herschel Walker was just defeated, humiliated this past week by Reverend Raphael Warnock in the Georgia Senate race. So this has been a bad week for Trump. Okay. And Trump knows charges are coming against him sooner than later, criminal charges. Trump also complained because the deal freed Brittney Griner, a basketball player who he baselessly accused of hating the U.S. Donald Trump accused Brittney Griner of hating the U.S. and because she refused to stand for the national anthem. He said, "What a stupid and unpatriotic embarrassment for the U.S.," he wrote. Now, despite Donald Trump's professed concern for Paul Whelan, I should say Whelan, not Whelan, Paul Whelan after the fact, Paul Whelan, he took no action to free Paul Whelan during his time in the White House when he had the power to do so. I wonder if he had a conversation with Vladimir Putin and Putin told him no, and he said, okay, and he just went on about his day. The former president, the traitor-in-chief, Benedict Donald, was never shy about calling for the return of Americans detained abroad when it suited his political purposes or could result in an easy public relations victory for him. Just 3 months after taking office, he celebrated the return of Egyptian-American charity worker Aya Hijazi in the Oval Office after he convinced Egyptian dictator Fattah el-Sisi to allow her release after 3 years of imprisonment on exaggerated human trafficking charges. He also frequently tweeted about American Christian missionary Andrew Brunson, who was held in Turkey. After Donald Trump pushed Turkish President Erdogan to return Andrew Brunson, Trump welcomed him home with another Oval Office photo opportunity in October 2018, because Trump is an opportunist. He's a con man, he's a fraud, he's a traitor, he's an opportunist. When it came to Paul Whelan, weeks following December 28th, silence continued through the final 2 years of his term as president. Now, a review of a public database of Donald Trump's tweets and publics by The Independent, the news outlet The Independent, theindependent.co.uk. A review of a public database of Donald Trump's tweets and public remarks by The Independent revealed that Donald Trump did not utter Paul Whelan's name even once during the countless public appearances and media availabilities that Donald Trump participated in when his Oval Office workplace was just steps from the White House briefing room. Okay, so Donald Trump didn't care about Paul Whelan when he was president. Donald Trump's then National Security Advisor, John Bolton, Bolton, eventually took a meeting with Paul Whelan's sister, Elizabeth Whelan, approximately 6 months after his arrest on June 16, 2019. National Security Advisor John Bolton later wrote on Twitter that the meeting had been productive and said Russia had, quote, produced no evidence that he had committed any wrongdoing, Paul Whelan. But apart from that meeting, Donald Trump's administration did not take any public actions to encourage Paul Whelan's release, leading him to desperately implore the then president to help during a June 20th, 2019 court appearance. Quote, Mr. President, we cannot keep America great unless we aggressively protect and defend American citizens wherever they are in the world. Tweet your intentions, Paul Whelan said from the prisoner's dock in a Moscow courtroom. Donald Trump never tweeted about him, nor did he raise his case during a June 2019 meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of the G20 that year. Okay, read the rest of this here. Trump is full of sugar honey iced tea, as well as the rest of those Republicans who are attacking Brittney Griner, attacking the prisoner swap. And I'm telling you, they partly are attacking this because they don't consider Brittney Griner to be a real American in the first place. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Stand by. Where's Deion Sanders? What the hell is Deion Sanders? Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. Okay. This past week we got last weekend we got the news about Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State University for Colorado. And I was on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, on the Black Star Media Network, and we discussed this. Also, I was on Charlene Mitchell's show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation as well, and we discussed that also. Okay, on Charlene Mitchell's show, Mind Your Business, M-I-N-D, mind your business. Mukasine, I'm sending this clip to you. Okay, and Mark here. I want people to hear this. I was on The Culture, and I'm a contributor on The Culture usually on Monday, so I should be on tomorrow. That's Faraji Muhammad's show on the Black Star Media Network, Roland Martin's network, and I'm on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Fridays. Okay. All right. I just sent you that clip, Mukasina. Yeah, cue that up at the 1:11, 1 hour, 11-minute, 15-second mark, please. It should just automatically queue up there. So a lot about Deion Sanders. I've heard some people talking who made sense, and some people who really should have just exercised their right to remain silent. They're just trying to stay relevant, have absolutely no clue to stay relevant, and just viral with just ridiculous, simple Simon nonsense. So his deal going to be for probably $5.9 million a year, and right now he's making $300,000 a year with Jackson State University. Okay, said, you know, he's not making this move basically for young men. Okay, and there was also a piece from, it was a good piece from NBC News called "Is Deion a Sellout? Experts Say It's Complicated." Is Deion a sellout? Experts say it's complicated. But Deion has left it for HBCUs and coaches for HBCUs, and what he's doing could really create a huge opportunity for American head coaches in college with HBCUs and predominantly white institutions, with HBCU and predominantly white institutions, not just for HBCUs. Okay, so on the culture, we discussed this, and from it had Scotty on, who a expert on sports. My guy Scotty, and I want to go to this clip here. Let me pull it up. Where? Hold on. Where is that clip? Hold on just a second here. I just sent it. Okay. This is one of these is not opening up. Hold on. This is okay. We're gonna go to this clip here. All right, here it is. Let me pull this up. So we were discussing Deion Sanders, the impact on HBCUs, and he brought me in. Okay, let's go to this clip, please. Okay, let's go to this clip, please, Mukasina.
On IG, my guy Scotty, to talk to us about the big announcement coming out of Jackson State University, where Coach Deion Sanders, who is the coach for this championship team, has made the announcement this past weekend that yes, he is planning to make a move to the university as an attempt to continue to push the boundaries and to he didn't say which opportunity. He just said for opportunity. Now I'm gonna share with you what CU has to say about this situation. Take a look at their statement, as they're very excited to turn their athletic program around, as their football team had a season 11. Let me bring my guy Scotty into this. Scotty 1-11.
And they suck.
You know what I'm saying, bro? Let me throw this up there, and Key, let's put this quote on there. This state coming from CU. Again, they're super excited they were able to secure Coach Prime. They said there were a number of highly qualified and impressive candidates. I'm sure there were. Okay. Not more impressive than Deion Sanders.
that were interested in becoming the next head football coach at Colorado, but none of them had the pedigree, the knowledge, and the ability to connect with student athletes like Deion Sanders. Colorado City's athletic director, Rick George, he said in a statement, he said, not only will Coach Prime energize our fan base, I'm confident that he will lead our national prominence of high quality and high character. This is interesting because the other part about this, Scotty, is that you can bring in black talent to make great, but does this open the conversation or open the door for institutional investment in black talent? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, because Coach Prime, he's 55 years old. Right? He made it forever. So he might just be nice to kind of get the ball rolling, starting it up, energizing the program, get you a ring, get you a chip, and then move on. But does this open the door for in black talent, sports talent?
Listen, man. I want to go back to that quote. Like, when he's student, he means he can connect with brothers. That's what he is. Let's call it. I can't. Let's call it. He connects with brothers.
Look, first and foremost, it's Deion Sanders.
Come on.
Like, if I was in college football, if I was a player, and then you tell me, and be like, who's the coach? It's Deion Sanders.
Let me out.
I'm playing. I'm riding the bench. I'm doing what I'm carrying the water. It's Deion Sanders, bro.
You need a water boy? I can be. But I tell people this all the time. And I was on the Auburn podcast. They asked, said, you don't understand the Deion effect until he touches down. And Colorado is experiencing that because they just made a statement, said they had over 200 recruits reach out to the school, 4- and 5-star guys looking to get into the program. Like, that's what Deion does. He is an agitator. I mean, like, you can't replicate that. I don't care if you're Nick Saban, Urban Meyer. I do not care what you're talking about. There is a difference when Deion Sanders walks into your home and your parent, that's your parent's idol. You know what I'm saying?
Father's favorite.
Father's favorite football player. With that, Nick Saban is a white man who's at a white school who wins championships. It's different when he walks into your living room. You're like, dang, like, bro, I remember when you was in Atlanta doing, like, that's what he does. That's what it is, and that's why Colorado is going to have, and it's Louis, because he is.
The host of research and because I feel like, Brother Michael, and I thank you again for your time, big bro. I feel like that because it's in white space with the expectation of doing great things, there's a race element to this. Am I often thinking that, Brother Michael?
I think those they call them. This is another challenge for him, but also this conference that he had this, and he took the opportunity to ensure that usually a lot of school and a lot of people.
All right. Let's pause. Stand. Bathroom break in 3 minutes. One minute. Stand by. Oh, okay. I was sharing with you this excerpt from Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture. We did this, that's from the December 5th, 2022 edition of The Culture on the Black Star Media Network. I'm a contributor on Monday, usually on Mondays. Martin on Fridays. Okay. All right. So, and let's see, we're having some technical difficulties. African History Network, the African History Network, and our YouTube channel. Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. If you have a question or comment, give us a call, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. All right, I'm going to go. Yes. see through that in a long time. But he was from Project 21. He's presenting this Black America or some nonsense they came up with. Okay, we'll probably next Sunday. But I want to go back to this clip here from this clip, please, from Casina.
A History Network. He's doing some phenomenal work as a researcher, and I want on this because I feel like, brother, I feel like that because he is a black man coming into a white space with the expectation of doing great things. Right. There's race element to this. Am I off, brother Michael?
I wouldn't necessarily say you're off in thinking that. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people who are jumping on Deion, and those that may call him a sellout or something like that. I mean, this is an opportunity for him, but also I watched the press conference that he had this weekend, and he talked about it's another opportunity to mentor young men. He's African American, and he is looking at mentoring. Not that usually a lot of these coaches don't just stay at one school coaching career. So and a lot of the people, now I think he's going to get about $5 million a year. He's making somewhere around
$6, brother Michael.
Okay, about $6. Yeah, about
right.
That's what they say, about $6 million. Yep.
About $6 million a year. Yeah. Okay. And that's an opportunity for him, but also, as Scotty said, this is an opportunity for his coaches as well. From what I'm reading, his son is going to and to be the quarterback. So, a lot of people criticizing him would do the same thing for a lot less money. Okay. Criticizing him would do the same for less money. I don't understand what the problem is.
I be yelling that on my channel. I'm like, listen, some of you Bama will be at, if you get 50 and somebody up needs 5,000. You on this first thing to an all-white company. Oh, they didn't me anyway. Like, stop it.
I mean, a lot of people would do that for extra $2 an hour. So, I don't understand what the problem is. I think part of it may have been, with Deion, with prime time being there, he's brought State University like to the forefront. So people who don't even follow, because I really don't follow college football. Okay, and I have prime time is put. So now people are gotten a lot more media coverage of Deion Sanders. Just clips of him speaking to his team, things like this have gone viral. Okay, so it's brought a lot of attention to Jackson State University by people who don't follow college football.
So I mean, and that's the thing. Like, what should we expect right now? What's the beat that black folks? You have a black that gets in black space. All the way. This allows to build the next project, build up, you know what I mean? Like, there is some mentally we have to reconcile.
So the slogan is that Deion, if that was Deion's plan to use you as a stepping stool, you should build things that would have continued after he set stuff in place for you that you can start using and make sure you're good to go 5-10 years from now. You know what I'm saying? So that's on Jackson for not doing that. And also, listen, people got really emotional when Deion said answer with collect. Listen, I don't know his walk. I don't know y'all's walk. We don't know nobody's walk. Don't take that for face. Start watching the man and how he moves. Like, people got so, oh, God called him here. God called him. Well, God called him to Colorado. So, I'm saying, so it's now you're making God being the bad guy. Like, God don't care about Jackson State. You know, so stop with all the, you gotta pastor and God complex. Take it for what it is. That's cool. Okay, God called you down here. We'll see how long you stay. And then if you leave, you leave. It just, people got so wrapped up in that God thing, and it just took it a whole nother direction.
And you know what? Being a head coach is business. That's the business. So it is what it is. White college head coaches, they do it all the time. They go from one scandal to the next. He didn't have no scandals, thank God. You go into a new space, and great that you be successful in that space. And I love what you said earlier, Scotty, is it opens the door for Black NFL greats to give back to the communities. I don't care if you spend a couple of years at an HBCU before you go off and doing something else. That level of engagement and involvement will shift the culture tremendously.
Yeah, because they're walking resources, right? Like, they're their own resource. They're not a coach looking for the school to invest in them. They bring a level of investment. I just want that from more.
There it is. My guy, Scotty, good to talk to you, brother. Check out on other TV. Follow him on IG, all your social media platforms. He's been keeping great. And Scotty, we certainly bring you guys more development to emerge about this story and the next movement. Thank you for being so good for the culture today, Scotty. We truly appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, man. As always, you have to catch me on YouTube as well.
Absolutely. There you go. There you go.
Okay.
All right, folks, we got to take a call.
Pause it right there. Pause it right there, Mukasina. All right, thank you. I just sent you another clip, Mukasina. We're about to go to that here in just a second. All right, so check that out. And I like Faraji's show because I get to talk more on Faraji's show than I do on Roland Martin's show. I like Roland's show, but I get to talk a lot more on Faraji's show. So I like that as well. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, you can email me at TheAHNShow at TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AHNShow at TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, our new website. Click on Contact the African Network if you want me to do a presentation in person, virtual presentation. If you want to interview me, if you want me on a panel discussion, please email us and we'll set it up. Remember, we have a special promotion going on for a few more days. My 15 lecture digital download bundle pack, 15 of my lectures. African History Awakens the African Mind from Mental Death. It's a $150 value on sale, $50. Promotion is going on for a few more days, and you can start watching content as soon as you purchase it. Okay, you can download the videos as well, include some of my lectures dealing with the film Black Panther, dealing with politics, dealing with Dr. King, Malcolm X, dealing with the African presence in the Americas, the history of dealing with the origins of Black History Month. It's a lot that you get in this bundle pack. Okay. Also, register for my online history classes. Oh, my new lecture dealing with the new Black Panther movie. We have that in digital download format. That's on sale, $10. Black Panther Wakanda Forever Analysis, African and Mesoamerican culture. I did that November 19th here in Detroit. And then also you can register for the online history classes I teach on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Next class is Wednesday, December 14th, And from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968. We do that on Tuesday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? All right, we're coming up on a break. When we come back, we'll talk quickly about Black Panther. And also, I want you to hear some of what happened when we dealt with this Black conservative who he had the wrong person on the right day. I'm the last person. See, you can't slick a can of oil. So when you come to me with some Simple Simon nonsense, I'm the wrong person to come to with that. We'll be back in a few minutes. For 4 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Stand by. All right, welcome back to the African History Network show. Okay, very quickly here. Okay, so right before the break, we were talking about Deion Sanders, and I shared a clip from The Culture with Faraji Muhammad. Black is the #1 movie again. A Variety article here. Let's go to it quickly here. Now, which comes out next weekend. Here from Variety, forever remaining on top of quiet box office as theaters brace for Avatar: the Way of Water. Okay. This is from December 10th, 2022. Black Panther Wakanda Forever will get to rule over domestic charge time as total box office grosses for the weekend threaten to hit a 2022 low. This are projecting 38.5 million in ticket sales across all theatrical for the 3-day period. Not only is that the worst collective result in some months, is just a small step above the roughly 35 million total gross of the weekend beginning January 8th, the floor for the domestic box office this year. I think this is the fifth weekend. I think this is the fifth weekend in a row for Wakanda Forever. A solid fraction of the weekend's numbers are coming from Wakanda Forever, which has faced next to no threats at the box office leader since its release in mid-November. The Marvel sequel earned $2.8 million across 3,725 locations on Friday, on its way to a weekend gross of about 11 million. This domestic sales for Black Panther Wakanda Forever sequel now stand at $401 million. The film should soon pass the $411 million earned by fellow Marvel entry Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Okay, the rest of this article here. Okay, now Friday we spoke with Craig DeLuz. Now, DeLuz is this black conservative. He may be Latino and black. He's a Project 21 member and founder. Okay, and they released this document dealing with a blueprint for a better deal for Black America. Blueprint for a better deal for Black America 2022. And you know, I'm gonna have to do a separate presentation. I'm gonna have to do a separate analysis and break this. Totally ridiculous what he was saying. I want you to hear some of this conversation. Okay, let's clip, please, Mukasina.
To one person and have well, that's because of your kindness. This sort of stuff is utter madness. It's not going to is racial unity. It's not going to create racial division, and that's exactly what it's doing.
Well, first of all, we've had racial division in this country since the beginning of time. I mean, we did come here as kidnapped and enslaved people. So this whole notion that critical race theory is creating something is really absurd, and it's actually creating a lot of hysteria by all the mischaracterizations of critical race theory.
It is. I've sat on the school board for 18 years, and I've seen them work to try and implement this stuff. And I'm telling you right now, this stuff is divisive. And as we're trying to bring people up, and you know, we worked in our school district to try and do diversity training, to try and do what we call resiliency training, cultural competency with our staff. When this anti-racism training started to come in, and we started to have concerns like this.
Oh, anti-racism is the problem as opposed to racism. That's a very interesting assertion, but I'm going to bring in my panel. If they have any questions for you, Ms. Luz, I'm going to start off with our professor, Mr. Michael Imhotep. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. I've been going through looking at some of this, and first of all, what you're saying about critical race theory is blatantly false. And then you say Donald Trump's of combating racial stereotyping executive order. That's ridiculous. But the question I have is, if we look for info from Yahoo News, Republicans and Democrats for crime, and they talk about how 8 of the 10, the highest murder rates per 100,000 are Republican states and states that voted for Donald Trump. Explain to me how Republican policies for fighting crime are going to be more beneficial for African Americans than Democrats. And I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but I sure as hell ain't stupid. And I know when people are trying to snow job our people as well. But explain that to me. And then I got a follow-up to deal with marijuana, because if you study the history of why marijuana was made illegal, it largely goes back to Harry J. Ansling and supremacists who targeted African Americans and who lied in front of Congress about the effects of marijuana as well. But we can get to that later. Answer the first question.
Okay, I'll use the state of California as an example. In the early 90s, in the state of California, we passed a number of laws which actually, which were included mandatory minimums for various different crimes. We started to institute things like going after people who were involved in violent crime, people who were involved in the drug trade, and what we found was for over 20 years, we saw a decrease, we saw a cut in crime, in violent crime, and in property crime. And then in early 2010, about the time that we got our then Attorney General Kamala Harris came in with this idea of, well, we're going to institute policies that are smart on crime. And as a part of smart on crime, what we're going to do is we're going to take things that are crimes, major crimes, and we're going to call them misdemeanors. And then not only are we now going to then call them misdemeanors, we're going to take the people who committed those crimes, we're going to take them out of state prison, and we're going to put them down. Now, as a result of that, we've seen a number happen. Number one, people
we're out of time. Pause right there. Pause right there. Stop the clip. Okay. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, The African History Network and Michael Imhotep, keep watching. We're going to finish the rest of this clip and then get out of here. Visit our website, TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win Wakanda forever. I had to deal with him because this was a bunch of simple Simon-ass nonsense that he was spewing. Okay, he's lucky Roland wasn't there because he would still be pulling his foot out, Roland's foot out of his behind. But I dealt with them as well. Hopefully, he'll come back. We need to do an entire 2 hours with Craig DeLuz. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. All right. Okay, let me disconnect the radio station. Okay, let's go back to this. Let's go back to this nonsense. Let me go back to this here.
And then in the early 2010s, about the time that we got our then Attorney General Kamala Harris came in with this idea of, well, we're going to institute policies that are and what we're going to do is we're going to take things that are crimes, felonies, and we're going to call them misdemeanors. And then not only are we now going to then call them misdemeanors, take the people who committed those crimes, we're going to take them out of state prison, and we're going to put them into county jails. Now, as a result of that, we've seen a number of things happen. Number one, the people who went from state prison to county forced then people who were in the county jails out onto the streets. On top of that, in many cases, which by the way are up to a year's stay. They're not built for long term, for more than a year. So you saw people who were going into county jails that didn't have rehabilitation programs, weren't set up for long term, and weren't set up for the populations that they had. And so then they started releasing prisoners. So now let's see, we've decriminalized crime. Oh, we got rid of bail. So now that we've got to bail, when you arrest somebody for committing a crime, we're now just going to release them onto the streets. Where there are multiple stories.
You're talking about bail reform.
Right?
Because Americans were disproportionately harmed when they couldn't afford bail and white people could.
Let me jump in because it's a little long. But let me just clarify.
The war on drugs started in 1971 with Richard Nixon. Republicans don't want to talk about that. He was started June 17th. So going to that, we need that back door.
Pause. Is my mic on? Okay, thank you very much. All right. Let me just fact play about her. Actually, it wasn't her initiative. It was safety realignment that brought about the difference between state prisons and local prisons and all that good stuff. Let's move on to another question, but I want to get questions in. So Kelly, you're up next.
I didn't even ask.
Y'all have 5 minutes back and forth. Kelly, can you go ahead with your question, please?
Sure. So we only covered 2 of these topics on in this like manifesto, blueprint, what have you, and those were the CRT. I want to focus on CRT only because it delves into another area, which is specifically education, not just ideologies in general. I need to know why you think learning about history is destructive. Because at the end of the day, critical race theory has been inflated to mean a whole bunch of things. At the end of the day, it really is a legal concept, but what it has been incorporated into as far as education is concerned is really correcting the wrongs that have been taught to myself and generations after me and setting the record straight. Says and the enslaved were not just immigrants that came over to America from Africa. That is part of critical race theory in a lot of jurisdictions. Native Americans were not just giving people turkeys in a cornucopia during the Mayflower. That's part of critical race theory. You understand what I'm saying? So I need to know what is woke. Why is that even being demonized? Why is it that whenever it comes to Black history or critical aspects of Black history, that gets shut down for the sake of, frankly, white guilt?
Okay.
So before you answer that, is my mic on? Mr. DeLuz, I want to be respectful to you, so I just want to give you a heads up. We have one more panelist ask you a question. So if you can keep it relatively brief so that we can get the last person in and then move on to the next segment, I would really appreciate it. I don't want to have to cut you off, so I'm just telling you up front. Thank you.
So first of all, let's understand that I think people on both sides are conflating what critical race theory is. I am not opposed to the idea of teaching our history, good and bad, in particular, and also when it comes to the issue of dealing with the issue of race and the history of African Americans. I know when I grew up, when I went to school, I covered the way we needed to. My point here is that what you're talking about, teaching and talking about history, is not what critical race race thing. I can only speak for California. Past in various different places by various different
accountable, we're going to hold the police accountable. Consent decrees are based on. So I would you want to repeal those.
You know, I have to be honest, in particular, the section on consent decrees, I'm not particularly familiar with. I do believe in law enforcement. Things like body cameras are vitally important and should be instituted for all law enforcement, in part because it not only helps keep police accountable, but in many cases, it's actually help exonerate them or show exactly what happened in many, many cases. It's not the complete story, but it does tell part of the story. And I more about the.
Thank you, Mr. Deleuze, for acknowledging that BS your way through that segment. To be honest, you sound just slightly more reasonable than this document. And I listened to it and I was aghast at many of the assertions. But we do agree, body cameras, because that has been instrumental in bringing justice to light. And to your point, if the cop is innocent, then it will show that as well. So, Mr. Deleuze, thank you so much for your time coming into the Lion's Den and giving us your perspective on what group, Project 21 group. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
All right.
All right. All right, so that was Reese sitting in for Roland. Also want to check out the Project 21, their blueprint. What is it called here? Just a second. Blueprint for a Better Deal for Black America. Project 21 Black Leadership Network. Black America. Okay, that's what this census is called. And now just reading the executive summary, I knew it was BS when I started reading the executive summary. In 2020, Black overwhelmingly voted for President Joe Biden in hopes he would push policies that would address the growing and diverse needs of their community. 18 months into President Biden's term, Blacks are more than a little disappointed. Rather than the centrist pro-growth and anti-crime policies they've been promised, Blacks have found that their personal situation in large part is worse than it was before Biden became president. And racism isn't the issue. Instead, crippling government policy is the real barrier for Blacks today. Okay, now what they don't want, then they say over the next year, the national debate has focused, over the last year, the national debate has focused far more on the interests of echo and woke warriors rather than kitchen table issues like job creation and low energy costs. 10 million jobs have been created under the Biden-Harris administration. 10 million jobs are created, 3.7% unemployment rate. The Biden administration has pushed expanding the safety net, enshrining critical race theory in the military, eco-alarmism, and abandoning America's southern border. They're not abandoning. This is bullshit. That's what this is. They put a black face on bullshit. That's what they did. Blacks aren't just ignored by today's priorities. They are harmed. Inflation, crime in their neighborhoods. But, you know, now he talked about, to show you how duplicitous this is, instead of, it said anti-crime policies, rather than the centrist pro-growth anti-crime policies they've been promised, Blacks have found blah, blah, blah. Okay. What he doesn't say is like the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. He doesn't say no Republicans voted for the bill in the House of Representatives. And the bill passed the House of Representatives by a vote of 220 to 212 in March of 2021. No Republicans voted for the bill. And then the Black Republican, Senator Tim Scott, blocked the bill in the Senate. See, this is why you can't slick a can of oil. You're talking to somebody who knows what happens, who knows what happened. Republicans blocked the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. So how are you going to blame Democrats for that? Then he talks about inflation. Well, no Republicans voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, which will help Americans, which will give cost savings on energy costs, healthcare costs, things like this, to fight inflation. No Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for the Inflation Reduction Act. No Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, which saved the American economy. Okay. Now, lastly, because I have to get out of here. Obviously, the people that wrote this nonsense, which we've talked about a number of. This document from whitehouse.gov goes through and breaks down step by step, policy by policy, how the policies of the Biden-Harris administration are helping African Americans. I encourage everybody to read this and then go read that nonsense for Project 21. This was dated November 6th, 2022. It was first updated in October of 2021. This is the most recent update. It's over 22 pages. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. One of the reasons why many African Americans are frustrated is because they're getting information from the wrong places and don't even know this document exists, and they're listening to Simple Simon people on social media pushing propaganda who don't do research and don't understand policy. And they're trying to push for things like we want race-specific policies, but race-specific policies are illegal at the federal level and illegal in most states. That's Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, non-discrimination and federally assisted programs, Section 601. But those people don't do research, so they don't know things like this. Economic opportunity for Black families and communities. It talks about how the American Rescue Plan has helped African Americans. It deals with things like how 1 million African American children were lifted out of poverty by the child tax credit, which is part of the American Rescue Plan. Even though that has expired, you can get that back. You got to pass it in the House and pass it in the Senate. Okay, maybe you could pick up a few Republicans in the House who will vote for the bill, make it a standalone bill, and get it passed in the Senate. Lowering energy costs. The Biden-Harris administration's vital policies and programs include lowering energy costs and creating economic opportunities through the Inflation Reduction Act. It goes through, breaks all this stuff down. Making home efficiency upgrades more affordable. Creating economic opportunities and good paying jobs. We haven't talked about the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan yet. Providing relief to farmers, especially African-American farmers. Republicans are not providing relief to African-American farmers. If anything, you had about 11 white farmers, 11 lawsuits to block the debt forgiveness that was in the American Rescue Plan for farmers of color, including African-American farmers. Republicans are against that. Making critical investments in Black families and communities in the American Rescue Plan. Historic expansion of the child tax credit, cutting child poverty to record lows for Black children. Okay. Supporting child care providers and reducing child care costs for Black families. The American Rescue Plan tripled the earned income tax credit for 17 million workers without dependent children. Helping Black Americans stay in homes. There was $25 billion in rental assistance that people stay in their homes. Black Americans were the largest group that received this help, representing more than 40% of aid recipients. This is stuff Republicans don't want to deal with. And people like Craig DeLuce, they don't want to talk about this. They're not going to tell you about this document. Who has showed you this document? Who has told you about this besides me and the African History Network? Go read this. The Biden-Harris administration advances equity and opportunity for Black Americans and communities across the country. This is why when I was reading the executive summary of Project 21, I knew it was garbage. I knew it was nonsense. And that was before Craig even came on the show, and then he came on the show, and then I was right. It's a bunch of nonsense. Okay. All right, look, we have to get out of here. You can support the African History Network, $, the AH Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/show. We have a page of our website also. Okay, remember, right now it's correct your own behavior. It's not until we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you next. Peace.